Hello, everyone. I am just getting everything all set up, so just bear with me 2 seconds here. Okay, cool. Hello. So I am live. I am back. I'm home from my trip, and it's super exciting. Such a great time. I'm so glad that I was able to share this with everybody and take everyone with me. So I have the chat open so I could do a live Q&A. My camera is here, my chat is there, so if I'm looking this way, I'm just checking on the chat. But other than that, I'm here with you, and we're here to chat about travel and what was going on, what I did in Paris, what was amazing, if I would have done anything differently, what were the standout moments, and that all that jazz. Oh, hey, Amethyst. It's so awesome you made it. I'm so excited. Hi. So, talking about Paris, the hotel. Hotel Terrace was awesome. It was in such a funky neighborhood. I loved it. It was in Montmartre, and it's such a great time there. It had a little tiny balcony, but it was perfect. It was perfect. It had this great view, and it checked all the boxes for me. Was there anything that I wanted to do that I didn't get to do? Oh my gosh, there's so much. It's really hard to see a city as magnificent as Paris in just a few days. It's one of those places, kind of like New York. Like, you could probably spend a lifetime trying to unpack it and see all the little things and all the big things. And there's definitely museums I would have loved to have gotten to see. I would have loved to have done a river cruise on the Seine, like one of the boat cruises, and just had more time to wander and explore. I think I had a lot of kind of attractions that I wanted to do, knowing that I was only going to be there for a few days. And it takes time, and it takes time to see the attractions. It takes time to travel to them. So there's only so many hours in a day. I think if there was something to do more, leaving time to explore. Yeah. But there are some things that I did do that I didn't necessarily vlog. So there are things like I did go to Notre Dame, and it's amazing. There's no words to really do justice the scope. Like, it has these huge ceilings and stained glass, but the stained glass, it's like way up there, and you can't see the minute details. Like, you could tell there's like little tiny pieces of stained glass in it, but because it's so high up, it's hard to see the little details of it. But there's also all these sculptures inside, and just the grandeur of it, and thinking back to what it took to build something as magnificent as Notre Dame. So that was one thing that I did do, that I did off camera. So that was one thing that I did do, that I did off camera. I also, speaking of exploring, there were some shops I went to. I went to Shakespeare and Company. So that was one of my kind of bucket list experiences. Shakespeare and Company, it's like this really famous old school bookstore. And, since I am a book fiend, I had to go. I did pick up 2 books while I was there. I picked up The Drunken Boat, which is a book of French poetry with a preface by Patti Smith. And I picked up a book of Oscar Wilde's poetry, because I thought it was fitting, considering that I went to see his grave while I was at the Père Lachaise Cemetery. So I did do that. Oh, chat. Let's see. The river cruise sounds really nice. Sometimes when you're in a new city, you just do the basics, and when you go, yeah, and then you really get to explore the local areas. Yes. and understand not being able to squeeze everything in. And yes, Patti Smith is so cool. Patti Smith actually is coming to New York in November. Just a side note. I have not yet gotten tickets because I'm trying to quantify the cost of going, but I would love to. So if I could find a way to do it, Patti Smith, right around my birthday time in the fall. So that might be the excuse, but it's awesome that, yeah. Sorry, going on a tangent, going on a Patti Smith tangent with that. But back to Paris. Back to Paris. So what were some other things I did off camera? I went to the Dior Museum. That was another thing that I filmed and that I didn't film and got to do just sort of on my own off camera. It was really an interesting experience. It has, I think it's like 4 floors, and you start at the top and you work your way down. And it's all of these outfits that were designed by Dior over the years, and it's these tailored suits and dresses and hats, and just seeing style evolve, but not just style like couture, because it's like some of it is that over the top fashion that you're not going to wear in the day to day, but seeing that evolution over time and seeing some practical outfits and seeing some like runway outfits and seeing some just business suits and business dresses and things that, like, the whole scope of it. And I have such an appreciation for Dior that I've developed over the years. I don't own any Dior clothing, but just like the art of the fashion, I guess, is the best way to put it. Like, there is thought in the design and the crafting of those outfits. And that's really been resonating with me more and more recently, and I think it's pretty cool. So the Dior Museum, they were all on display, and you can get really close. You could really see the details and the stitching, and really appreciate all of the work that goes into it. And they also had a artisan who is there hand beading, like on doing a demo, I guess would be the best way of putting it. So she was like hand beading right there, and I don't know how I thought it was actually done, but what she was doing was not it. She had like a little like poking tool, and it was a very sheer material, and she would like bead poke and like bead and a poke and a bead and a poke. And like I said, I don't know what I thought hand beating like entailed, but that was not it at all. But it was really fascinating to watch her do that. Um, let's see, Dior Museum. I don't anything either, but I'm working towards Chanel. Not a name brand person, but I appreciate the work that goes into it. Indeed, yeah. I mean, I look, I wear what I can afford. I'm in a t-shirt. I'm in a Star Trek t-shirt right now. Like, I'm clearly not, a name brand person, but like you said, Amethyst, like I appreciate it. I can see it for the art that it is, and it's incredible. It's really incredible. Um, oh, Dior has a tie-in to Johnny Depp, which has a tie-in to another place I went. I think it's pronounced De Royal. They are an oddities shop in Saint Germain. And I wandered over there because a little birdie told me that Johnny Depp had art on display there. And lo and behold, yes, he did. He partnered with them to do a piece called Pachyderm, which was obviously an elephant. And it was magnificent. And there were a few other pieces. And it was also just like a really amazing shop. It was really amazing if you don't mind taxidermy and oddities. So context is key, right? Um, I found it very interesting. They had like all these curiosities. They had like mounted insects, um, like I said, taxidermy, interesting books, just sort of about things of that nature. But it was all done in like this really artistic way that sort of like respected the life of the creature that was becoming art, in its next life, I guess would be a good way of putting it. But it was a really interesting shop, and Johnny's artwork fit right in there. Um, Go into my chat here. Let's see, FIT has displays. Yes, FIT has a museum. FIT is that's like on my to-do list is to go to the FIT museum. Um, they're fantastic. They're absolutely fantastic. What was the deciding factor to do Paris at this point in your life versus pushing back one more time? I lost my uncle. I lost my dad. Time is precious, and we don't know what tomorrow holds, and we're not promised it. And I've gotten to a point where if there's something in my life that I want to accomplish, tomorrow is not the option anymore. I need to find a way of going from I want to do to I'm doing. And that's how I got to Paris. Was I stopped saying I want to go to Paris and I said I'm going to Paris. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to find a way. I'm going to crunch the numbers. I'm going to figure out what needs to be done to make this happen, and I'm going to make this happen. And I went to Paris. I went to Paris. That that's the answer to that one. Um, Partnership with Depp and Dior is pretty epic. Yes, it is. And they just finished filming another series of commercials together. So there's more to come with that also. Yeah, it's hard to lose people. I'm sorry, Amethyst. It's rough. I'm truly sorry. Money is the challenge. Money is always the challenge. But you plan. You plan. I as much as I say that like I found a way to do it today. Today wasn't today. Today was, you know, today was me figuring out. Today was me figuring out how I was going to do it and making that plan and executing that plan. And from the time I booked it, because I booked that trip last summer. So I don't, if you like go back, there was a day that I had like a walk and talk in the park, and I was just talking to y'all, and that was the day that I decided I'm doing it. So the thing with travel is certain portions of the trip have to be paid right away, and certain portions of the trip don't have to get paid until like a month before you check in, or sometimes even later, depending on the situation. Like some hotels, it's even closer, but generally speaking, it's like a month. So like for Paris, I had to pay for my airfare up front, and the hotel terrace I had to pay for up front. So I paid for the airfare first, and then I saved up a little bit and I paid for the hotel terrace. And I was like, I had a few hotels. So like if I didn't get that hotel, I had a backup plan. And then the Disney portion, I was able to pay the last. That was like the last portion of it that was due. So I had more time to put away for that. And I just chipped away at it, had a plan, and executed on it. And yeah, and also, being flexible and bargain hunting and going off season and all those other things, they all help, right? Like I traveled not during the high season. I April is not when most schools are out. I traveled just before the holiday break. So I hit like a sweet spot on it, and I booked far enough in advance that there were some deals to be had too. So like all that planning is stuff that helps. Um, I'm sad that's what it took, but glad that you took the challenge of life on. Yeah. I wish that wasn't what it took, but you know, life will throw us curveballs. So it's do we swing at it or do we hold? I took a swing. So in other words, today was planned yesterday. Yeah, yeah, today was planned yesterday. I like that. And I'm glad that your travel there and back was smooth. Yeah, I feel like I got very lucky with the travel. I fly in and out of Newark usually, and with everything that's going on, I am glad that it was a smooth trip also. Yeah, no, it was not planned overnight. The things I wanted to do were planned, but uh, actually making the payments on it, I spread it out and let it all fall into place. That's definitely how that worked. Um, yeah. So what else did I do in Paris? I have like this list of stuff on my thing of like stuff to mention that I didn't necessarily film. Food, food. Oh my gosh, I didn't really film my food. Gluten free in Paris. It's like a contradiction in terms. That was that took planning. I feel like my food took more planning than the hotels and everything else. Um, I had a few apps that were super helpful for this. What is it? Find Me Gluten Free is fantastic app. It let me identify places that were like entirely gluten-free establishments because trying to explain dietary needs in a culture where food is very precious and very revered and not being a native speaker to the language was like very daunting. It was challenging. So Find Me Gluten Free app helped me find restaurants and establishments that just did gluten free. So that was super helpful and it made it a lot less stressful. And there were some great options out there. There were some really fantastic food options. My favorite was in Saint Germain. I went to a place called No Glue, and it was an entirely gluten free restaurant. And I had like avocado toast on gluten free bread, and it was just so tasty. And I had been walking around all day. That was like a really busy day, and I had gotten up and I was like, didn't get my second cup of coffee, and I told my waiter, I was like, I need a coffee, and I was like, I'm blanking on the name. It's not the Cafe Americano. It's the Longe. It's like the it's similar to an Americano, where it's because in France the coffees are espressos, and I was like, I need more. So he's like, I gotcha, and he made me a very strong Americano. And then when I left, they had like a bakery counter, and again, everything is gluten free, so I didn't have to worry about it. And I was able to get croissant and baguette to take with me, and those were like very much needed because I went there towards the end of my time in the city of Paris, just before I went to Disney, and I brought enough snack with me to take me to Disney. Y'all, Disneyland Paris is not as advanced in the gluten-free aspects of things as Disney World in the States or Disneyland in the States. They have, for lack of a better term, a microwavable meal that is free of most allergens that is available at all of their dining establishments. But this is like, number one, not the most tasty thing in the world. I did not get one of them, so I can't actually speak to its flavor. But like, if I'm going to a Disney park, I'm not looking to get like what's effectively a microwave thing. And it also had things that like I don't eat in them. So like I don't eat red meat. And some of those trays were beef. And that's not helpful either. So it was complicated. And they don't have large lunches. They have large, like dinner is the main meal. But at Disney, your timing of meals is off. So there's like one quick service restaurant that had like rotisserie chicken, and it was only available for lunch. And I didn't want it for lunch, and I thought they were open for dinner, and I went there for dinner, and it was closed for dinner. And then I had to get a salad, but I had my baguette from No Glue with me. So I had a little something extra with the salad. But it was like those type of things where I'm like that having that extra croissant and baguette with me was a saving grace. There were also a few other food establishments I want to shout out. Maison Plume. Oh my gosh, Maison Plume. Chef's kiss. Bakery. Gluten-free. Refined sugar-free. I found a bakery in Paris that did not use refined sugar. And it was delicious. It was delicious. They had these like mousse and cake kind of treats. So it was like the bottom was like a cake base, and then it was a mousse top, and then it had like a shell coating. It was so good. It was so good. I had three of them while I was there. One of them was a lemon flavored, one of them was a chocolate flavor, and one was a coffee flavor. They lasted me the week. They were so rich. They were delicious. It was amazing. It was amazing. And another gluten-free place I went to, what was it called? A manufacturer de Saint Gluten. And they were a bakery a couple of blocks from my hotel, gluten-free, also had croissant, which were very tasty, but they were very, very buttery. They were, in comparison to the ones I got from No Glue, like they saturated the bag that they came in. So they were much heavier. Tasty, but very heavy. Oh, the chat's moving. The chat is moving and grooving. I gotta go back here. Let me see. I think this is where I left off. I know that you faced fear on the ride with, oh yeah, the RC racers. Um, Honestly, I think that might have been the only fear no, the Eiffel Tower. The Eiffel Tower. The Eiffel Tower. Um, that's high. I wasn't expecting it to be so like that's a misstatement. I was expecting it to be high. What I wasn't expecting is because it's so open and exposed, the littlest gust of wind, oh my gosh, you feel everything. And I also climbed the tower. I didn't take the elevator. I had stairs tickets. So I walked it, but I walked it after walking the Arc de Triomphe. So I did like I had done like 283 stairs at the Arc and then walked over to the Eiffel Tower and then walked up the stairs. So I made it to the first level, and then when I got there, I made it to the first level, and then when I got there, I rested, and it felt daunting. And I was like, okay, I need some time. And then I tried to go to the second level, and I started shaking. My legs were shaking, my hands were shaking. I was just like, I was not sure if it was fear or exhaustion or both. I'm still not sure. But the experience of having it being so exposed, feeling so vulnerable at that height, that was I wasn't expecting that. So that was a fear I faced that I wasn't expecting to be afraid of. So I guess that's a way to put it. Let's see. Is there anything that I experienced that was much better than I read, researched, or expected? Ooh. I think the things where like I didn't know what to expect. Like The Palace of Versailles. I knew it was going to be big. I knew it was going to be about, King Louis the 15th, but I didn't understand the level of grandeur, the level of opulence, and the way it's consuming when you're there. It's like you are in it, even with the crowds, even like with that many people, to still feel that sense of enormity like that I was not expecting. Yeah, yeah, I think that would be my answer for that one. Um, let's see. Glad your barista spoke coffee and was able to satisfy your coffee craving. Yeah, yeah, it was. He was an awesome waiter. He was fantastic. I really do take for granted how readily available many meals are in the city and 24-hour access. Yeah. And it's not that they're not available in Paris, but you have to look for them a little bit more. And the culture around food is different. There's, cafes and, you know, set menus and things like that. But it's not that it's not available because there's supermarkets, there's fruit stands, there's carts, there's stuff, but the culture around gluten free, that's yeah, that it's trickier because it's like patisserie, a baguette, a croissant, and the culture of doing that gluten free is not prevalent. Um, and it makes me wonder, like, people who have gluten intolerances are not unique to the States, but it also makes me wonder, like, is there stuff in our dietary habits that make us more sensitive to gluten? I don't know. Like, I don't know what the statistics are of like people with gluten sensitivities by country, but now that I'm saying that, I'm curious. I'm curious. Um, let's see. Yes, lemon flavored pastries are delicious. That one was fantastic. That was actually like, I love chocolate, but that lemon one was one of my favorites. Eiffel Tower, oh my God, epic. I felt it was all about the vessel at Hudson Yards and the Statue of Liberty, but Eiffel is open. Yeah, so the vessel, I haven't been back since they reopened, so I haven't been up in the vessel. Um, and dare I say, I'm a New Yorker who's never been to the Statue of Liberty. Seen it from afar, seen it from Governor's Island. But I feel like many New Yorkers like don't actually make it to the Statue of Liberty. But I've done Top of the Rock, I've done Empire State Building, I've done observation towers, all over the place. It's different. I mean, even when I went up the Arc, it was enclosed until you get to the top. Climbing those stairs outside, it's totally it's not even like an apples and apples comparison at that point. It's a whole it's totally it's not even like an apples and apples comparison at that point. It's a whole other thing. It really is. Uh, you got to go back to work. Okay, well, it's been great having you, Amethyst. So thank you for making some time. So let's see. Just looking back at my list of stuff. Oh yeah, with the gluten-free, there was one other place that I went to, which was Crepe Avenue, and the awesome things with crepes, not crepes, but many crepe places will have galettes, and galettes are made with buckwheat, and buckwheat is naturally gluten-free. So I was able to have galettes. So was able to have some traditional French meals and stick to my diet as best as I could. So that was pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. Um, Also thinking about like things that like I was expecting versus not expecting, and I sort of talked about Versailles and not expecting it to be as grand. I think I had sort of the opposite reaction with La Louvre. Um, I was expecting a lot more from La Louvre, and I felt kind of disappointed, and not disappointed from what they had on display, but but the amount of people they allow in at one time is so high. It is very challenging for me to be able to appreciate the art. The way the architecture is, there's a lot of echo, and I had like the audio guide. And honestly, that audio guide I was not impressed with, but the fact that it had headphones and could give me some background noise was immensely helpful because I was getting extraordinarily overstimulated, and it was very hard for me to sort of like navigate and appreciate and take things in just because it was so busy. And I went on a weekday at 10 a.m. and it was so busy. And it's like part of me feels bad because like I want people to appreciate and enjoy art. I want everyone to be able to see this stuff. But at the same time, like if you look at like the clip of when I saw the Mona Lisa, it's so busy. Like I don't, you could see it for like a second and it's so crowded that you can't appreciate the craftsmanship and the work and the detail because everybody is just there. They want their picture and they want to move on. And it's like very overwhelming in the people-y sense and not in the art sense. And I wanted it to be more overwhelming in the art sense. um, yeah, but the Louvre, like, I'm glad I went. I'm not upset that I went. I don't know if there's a better time to go, a better time of day, a better time of year, but it was just super busy. And it's hard to navigate when I was so busy. So if I make it back, I'm probably going to check out other museums that are in Paris. Paris Opera House was amazing. Perfect in terms of crowds. It was like it was busy, but it wasn't overwhelming, and it's breathtaking, absolutely breathtaking. Um, let's see. What are some things that I wasn't necessarily expecting? I mentioned all the steps from the Arc and the Eiffel Tower. The other place there's a lot of steps. The metro. The metro. And just walking around. I was staying in Montmartre, and there's a lot of steps. Montmartre is like a hill; it's a hilltop area, and some of the streets are just an angle, like a slope, and other streets literally have staircases. So if you're going up to the Basilica Sacré-Cœur, there are steps. There are steps. So, yeah, that was something I wasn't expecting was all the steps. Um, But using the metro itself was pretty easy. Using public transit was it was a piece of cake. I actually I have my Navigo card still sitting around, and basically like the Navigo card kind of works like a Metro card or an Omni card if you're in New York. Um, they do have an app where you can do it on your phone now, but it was easier for me to use the Navigo card, and you can basically preload the card with like your trips, like your tickets, and then it will just deduct off of that. They do have like a weekly, but it runs from I think Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm not exactly sure, but it doesn't start on Sunday. It starts in a few days into the week. And because of the day that I landed, it didn't make sense for me to get a weekly. So I just used that and I just loaded up for however many trips I needed. And it worked perfectly well. And it worked on both the Metro and the RER. Those are like the two types of train lines. The RER is more of like a commuter type of a train. It goes more to the suburban areas. So I had to take that when I went to Versailles, and I had to take that when I went to Disney. So that's the Navigo card. Um, what else? What else? let's see. I'm just checking out my list, y'all. I'm just checking out my list. Ba, ba, ba. I guess we'll talk about Disney. We'll talk a little bit about Disney Paris. So I stayed at the Disneyland Hotel New York, the Art of Marvel. Yes, New Yorker staying at a New York hotel while staying in Paris. I know, the irony, the irony. It's 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 a Marvel hotel, y'all. It was a Marvel hotel. It was amazing. It was amazing. It was honestly one of the best hotels that I've ever stayed at. Um, yeah, it was such a comfortable room, so spacious. The service was amazing. All the staff were so helpful and awesome. Um, the only thing I think I had mentioned when I did the vlog was they don't have like a quick meal option. They only have sit down dining options at the hotel. So like if you wanted to get like a quick thing of eggs or something, like you can't just get like eggs or a croissant. Like they don't have that there. You would have to go to Disney Village. But what I ended up doing, the room service was so affordable. I got room service every day I was there for breakfast because it was €12 and I got eggs. I think it was like two eggs any way you want them. So whether you want them scrambled or, omelet or over easy or like whatever. And then you got to pick sides. And I got these like sauteed mushrooms, I got beans and tomatoes. You could pick three sides. And like bacon and sausage were options too. They were not the options I chose. And like there's coffee in the room already. So it was like all of that for €12. Like, yes, thank you, please, and thank you. That was awesome. Um, yeah, it was just super, super reasonable and convenient and fantastic. It was fantastic, and it was like a hearty meal. It got me going for the day, and yeah. Um, so they did have like two restaurants. One restaurant was open like breakfast time, one restaurant was open dinner time, and then they had two lounges. So they had the Bleecker Street Lounge, which is the one that I went to during the daytime, and that one was themed for Doctor Strange, like Bleecker Street. And I loved it. It was so understated and relaxed and chill. It was really, really, it was a great environment. And I had those like veggies with the dip. Like even now, like I remember that was delicious. And then in the evening, I didn't make it to the Skylight Lounge, but they have a Avengers Tower themed lounge. So that's awesome. And yeah, then they had the superhero experience. So I got to meet Natasha Romanoff and take pictures with her. And then they had like all these different photo ops. So you could like pose with Thor's hammer or Captain America's shield and, or being like the little cube from like Guardians of the Galaxy. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. So that was, some of the stuff they had at the hotel, Disney's New York Hotel, the Art of Marble. It's a long name. It's a long name. The other thing is that hotel is so close to the parks. All the hotels are close to the parks. But aside from the Disneyland hotel, the Hotel Marvel is the next closest hotel. So the Disneyland hotel literally sits at the main gate of Disneyland Park. You have to walk underneath the hotel to scan your tickets. Yeah, it's literally at the gate and looks into. So like for like the fireworks, like if you have a room facing that side, like you are at the park looking down Main Street, right? Like that's amazing. I mean, I'm sure there's some rooms that like don't look that way, but there are rooms that do. There are rooms that do. So aside from that hotel, the hotel I was at, the Art of Marvel, you walk through Disney Village and it's the first hotel that's there. So it's like a 10-minute walk from the gates. So it's also super convenient. So it's like if you need to go back in the middle of the day, you need a little break. I went back to do the superhero encounter. So it was like super easy to go back to the hotel in the middle of the day. Also, if you got any souvenirs, um, something about Paris is they don't just give out bags like the way we have a lot of plastic bag bans now. They don't have bags for free. You have to purchase bags. At least in Disneyland, you had to purchase bags. So if you have like souvenirs and you don't want to carry it around all day, or you didn't get a bag or have a bag, you want to bring it back to the hotel, it's like super close. It's so close. So that was definitely a real convenience. Um, the photo pass. So I had the photo pass, but I had it as a promotion. It got added onto my package. If I had purchased the photo pass, I would have been disappointed. And the reason why I say that is there are not a ton of photo pass photographers around. In fact, I didn't find any. The only photo pass pictures that I had taken were ride photos and at the superhero experience. Those are the only places where the photo pass worked. The superhero experience was the only place that I saw a live human photographer taking pictures. So it's like I'm very used to how it works at Disney World in Florida, where there are photo pass photographers every like 5 feet on Main Street taking pictures in front of the castle, and they're like, by you know be our guest, and they're all over the place, and they have the magic shots. And so when you have that sort of a mindset of what a photo pass experience could be like, and then going to Disneyland Paris, and that's not how it operates there, it's something to be aware of, because they don't have a tremendous amount of photo pass photographers walking about, and it really is about the ride photos. So if you are the type of person that wants ride photos, you really want that aspect of it, it's perfect. But if you're just looking for pictures around the park, there weren't a ton of photographers. So um the other so um the other thing was I didn't use their fast pass system. I don't remember what it's called, if it's called fast pass or Genie Plus, or like whatever their equivalent is. Um, it's a little bit different in the way that it's structured there. You can do a fast pass per ride. So like if I wanted just for Space Mountain, you can do it just for Space Mountain. Or you could get like one that like encompasses multiple rides. Um, I didn't do any of that. And if my trip had played out differently, I may have done it differently. I may have invested in doing that. And the reason why I say that, the first 2 days, one, two, yeah, the first 2 days that I was there, I'm trying to like count out my days. Nah, the first day that I was there, so easy. There were hardly any lines. The longest I waited was 15 minutes. I got on everything at Disneyland Park that I wanted to get on that first day. I went on the Indiana Jones roller coaster. I was able to go on the Phantom Manor. It's not the Haunted Mansion there, it's the Phantom Manor. I was able to go on Hyperspace Mountain. I saw Mickey Spill Her Magic. I was able to go on the rides in Fantasylands like Pinocchio and Snow White. And so, like, all of those rides, Pirates of the Caribbean, like twice, three times. Um, I made it on all the rides I wanted to get on. So, when I went the second day, I went to studios, and the crowd level had dramatically increased. I got there right at opening, and I went to the Crush roller coaster was the first place I went, and I used the single rider line, and that had, I don't remember if it was a half hour or 45-minute wait, something in that ballpark at park opening, like at rope drop. And I had like early admission because I stayed at like a Disney hotel. and it still had that higher wait time. Um, I was able to go on the RC racer car and then Remy's. And then after I got off Remy, the volume was really intense. Um, so I started trying to go to shows. And what I noticed was you couldn't get there 10 or 15 minutes before the show started. You had to get there a full show before the show you wanted to see. So if it was like a half-hour show, you had to be there a half hour before for the doors to open for the next show because the capacity was being hit for the shows. The same thing happened to me with Animation Academy. So I had to I got there just as one animation session was starting, and I had to wait for that entire animation session to hold a spot for myself to be in the next group. So the volume of people was definitely higher that day. And then the third day I was there, which was sort of like was going to be my day to sort of go on anything that I missed or anything that I really wanted to go on again. And it was so busy that it became overwhelming. And I used it as a day of what I like to call collecting characters, meaning I was really about doing the meet and greets and met Mickey Mouse. I met Pluto. I was just going around saying hi to my favorite characters, which is awesome. It's awesome. But I didn't really get on many rides that last day because it was so busy, so busy. So if the volume of the crowds had been as high as it was those days when I first got there, I very likely would have gotten the lightning lane or express pass or whatever their terminology is for it there. Because it would have been necessary. There would have been no way to get through all the rides I wanted to go on without it at the crowd level that it was at those other days. So what I suspect happened when I was traveling was just before Easter. So I think that towards the end of my trip is when a lot of holidays started in Europe that week. So I think I sort of bumped into the beginning of those vacation days for families, and it got busy. It got very busy in the parks. Um, let's see, Disney Village. Disney Village was pretty cool. It's Village. Disney Village is was pretty cool. It's much like downtown Disney in both California or Florida. It's not nearly as big as Florida. It's more akin to Disneyland in California. In fact, I could draw a lot of parallels to Disneyland in California. Two parks, the size, the scale, the scope. Um, there's, I think, a lot more vibing of similarities to California Disneyland, which, I guess kind of makes sense. They have the same namesake, right? Um, but Disney Village has multiple Disney style shops. So three, four Disney shops, and then a ton of restaurants, a ton of different restaurants. There's a barbecue place, there was a diner, all sorts of I'm blanking on it, brasserie, bratisserie. I'm mispronouncing. It's been a long day. My brain is starting to check out. But they had a ton of restaurants. They had so many restaurants. Yeah. So lots of dining and shopping options there. So if you don't find food in the park and you want to pop out to Disney Village, it's connected. It's right there. So it's almost like, think about it like a triangle. So you have Disneyland Park is here, Disney Studios Park is here, and then right here is I need paper to do this diagram. Okay, let's see, do it this way, right? Okay, Disneyland Park is here, Disney Studios Park is here, Disney Village is here. Then over here is where the hotels are. Kinda. Yeah, I need paper to draw a diagram, but yeah, it's super convenient the way that it's set up. It's all right there. But yeah, so that was my experience at Disney, and they have a dragon under the castle. Y'all, they had a dragon under the castle. It was amazing. That was amazing. Um, yeah, so that was my time at Disney. So I think I'm kind of unpacking a lot of Disney stuff, but like the city of Paris too. I don't want to skirt over that or like not give it its much deserved respect and appreciation because the city of Paris was incredible, incredible. It's definitely a place I want to go back to, but so happy I had the opportunity. So happy I had the opportunity to do this, and yeah. So let's see. I'm just checking if there's anything in the chat. Nope, not right now. Um, so talked about some stuff that I didn't vlog. Talked about Notre Dame. Talked about Dior Museum, Shakespeare and Company. Talked about some restaurants I went to, using the metro. So yeah, I did a lot. I did a lot. So I think I'm kind of talked out. I've been talking for almost an hour, so I think it's time to call it. But thank you for anyone who popped in. Thank you for anyone who catches the replay. And if there's any questions that like I didn't get to answer while I was on here, just leave a comment. I'll circle back to them. I always try to answer my comments, and I'll see you all real soon. So I guess until then, stay inspired. Bye, everyone. Take care.